Are you talking shift? We are. It's time for the We're Talking Shift podcast. Now. Here to talk shift, Loree Bischoff. We're Talking Shift.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to We're Talking Shift, the podcast where I talk a lot of shift because when we feel stuck, if it's time to level up, rise to a challenge, or make any kind of meaningful, effective change in our lives, we have to shift. And that process must begin by shifting our thinking. It is the antidote to feeling stuck. Today, Jordan River, who's actually become one of my regular contributing guest experts, is back to talk more about some good health shift with me. Hi, Jordan. It's so good to have you back again.
Thank you, Loree. It's a pleasure to be back on your show.
Thank you. So I was very excited when I got your email and you had suggested we talk about 3 simple shifts that people can do to increase their health and performance, which always gets my attention because that is definitely what my coaching is all about, your health and your performance as a human being. So, I was like, let's do it. And
Absolutely.
And I know you had 3 kind of main things. You want to start with what I've found to be very interesting, and I've tried this and failed, cold therapy. Let's dive into that one.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. And, before we get started, I just want to say these are 3 simple shifts that I'm looking to share today because, everyone knows that you could probably clean up your diet. You could exercise more. These are things that people struggle to do because they're, time consuming. They take a lot of time out of their day. We should do them, and I encourage people to do them. But I'm talking about 3 really, really simple shifts that will basically take no extra time out of your day, increase your health, increase your performance, increase your wellness, and basically make you feel better all around as a human being. So simplicity is key, in my opinion. Is it not, Loree?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that because I think when people feel like, it's going to be too hard, too time consuming, too overwhelming, too complicated, too anything, they are either, completely discouraged from even trying, or they try and they give up too easily. So I'm all about the simple. And honestly, I think that that's a way that when it's simple, I think it's a lot easier for people to incorporate it into their lives and make it more of just a lifestyle rather than like this major, gigantic extreme shift. It's just too hard to maintain.
Yeah. And, I don't want to go too far down this road, but interestingly enough, on one of my other shows, I just spoke to Dr. B.J. Fogg, who is a Stanford University professor, and he pioneered a program called Tiny Habits. And it's exactly what you're saying, Loree, is you can actually add up these tiny habits and you get little wins through these little, tiny shifts that actually add up into major, major beneficial changes in your life in the long run. So that's exactly right. And that's what we want to do, is make these little shifts that are high impact, high leverage moves. That's what I'm all about.
I like it.
You said, why don't we start with cold? Okay. Cold therapy. And this is a hard sell for a lot of people. I got to tell you, Loree.
Oh, I know.
It is quite challenging, but I think it's really important to understand the science behind it and understand why it's so beneficial. And then once you get started, it really is quite addicting. So let me take a step back from cold showers, which is what I'm recommending people do every single day, and talk first about temperature. There are some fascinating studies that anyone can look up. They took place over a course of decades, I believe. And these studies were following people who sauna'd regularly and those who didn't. And it was specifically focusing, I believe, on a Scandinavian test subject group. The studies turned out to be incredible. After following men and women for decades, it showed that if specifically men used the sauna 2 to 3 times per week for only 15 to 20 minutes for each session, it had an 18% reduction in the risk of fatal coronary heart disease.
Really?
And if you went 4 to 7 times a week, it bumped it up to 20%. Now, that's something they look for called dose dependent. When you're looking for a study to show that something is efficacious, that something works, that something is true, a little bit of something will get you a little bit of X result. A lot will get you a lot of X results. So that's one of the things they look for, is that dose dependency. And that's going to come up later in this episode as well. And that's what we see with saunas. 4 to 7 times a week, men who sauna'd had a 60% reduction in risk for Alzheimer's. and other forms of dementia as well. So it helps with the plaques and tangles forming in your brain. There is something about exposing the body to extreme heat and extreme cold that is regenerative, restorative, and reparative. It also increases your lifespan. Okay, so you want to dive into why it's so beneficial, Loree, and get into the science behind it?
Yeah, especially the cold. I'm going to have to be convinced because I am repelled by cold. The heat. I'm all about the heat, and I have tried the cold shower business, and I was like, the cold shower thing is something that I really will have to. It's just something I would have to force myself to do, but I have a feeling that you're going to have enough information that I'm going to be compelled. So.
Absolutely. And that's a good thing that you are actually repelled by the cold, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But really interestingly enough, when it comes to the sauna, people first thought, okay, well, it increases your heart rate, and it's basically a cardiovascular exercise. You're sitting there, your heart is pumping as if you're getting moderate exercise, essentially. You're sweating. Everyone knows how good sweating is for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're really discovering now is there's an anti-inflammatory process that occurs when the body is exposed to extreme heat and extreme cold. Have you ever heard of cold shock proteins or heat shock proteins?
Never.
So these are compounds that your body manufactures within itself when you're exposed to extreme temperatures. These proteins are anti-inflammatory. They repair damaged muscles. They are extremely beneficial for recovery and rest and just overall health and vigor. So anyone who's interested in this can look into Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She can explain this process much better than I. I just gave you an easy framework there, but if you want to dive deeper, check out the work of Dr. Rhonda Patrick. This is life-changing stuff, incorporating these cold shock proteins and these heat shock proteins into your everyday life. Now, that brings me to the cold showers.
Okay.
There's no better way to induce cold shock proteins than to hop into a cold shower. I know it's hard. I know it's challenging. And I can tell you ways to ease into the process, but cold showers are incredible. They're good for your energy. They're good for your mood. They're good for your skin, your hair, your mental acuity, your hormone health, your sex drive, your confidence, and more. It stimulates the cardiovascular system. It oxygenates your blood. And really, one of the secrets to cold showers, Loree, is that it induces basically an intense breathing exercise. Have you ever been shocked by cold and you find yourself going, or the repeated gasp, you're basically...
Yeah. I grew up in Minnesota. Yes.
So you're basically you're doing a yoga Wim Hof style power breath inadvertently. Someone who's done no breathing training can expose themselves to cold, and instantly they're a yoga master as they begin oxygenating their blood, breathing with the lower part of their lungs, which exchanges oxygen 20% better than the rest of your lungs, doing this breathing technique. So half of the cold is the cold temperatures and all the stimulation it does to your brain and your heart, but also you're breathing, you're oxygenating your blood. It's a default breathing exercise, and it is absolutely life-changing. Now, for someone like you, I'd really recommend taking it slow. Start with your normal shower and see if you can do 30 seconds of cold before you get out, or even cool. Move to cool and then work your way to cold.
That's kind of what I had to do. Yeah, I tried that before. That's what I had to try before. I had to ease into it. So I started out with my hot shower, and then I would, as I was nearing the end of my shower, I'd be like, all right, let me see if I can just sort of ease myself into the cold zone, which I did. Yeah. But, and then I don't know, I did that for a few days and then I gave it up.
Now 5 minutes is optimal. You work your way up to 5 minutes. That's when you really start seeing benefits. But here's what I'm going to try to convince you to continue with. And this is a massive breakthrough. This is where the shift really occurs. There are studies that show that starting your day with a challenging task basically puts your mind in a default mode of accomplishment and challenge accomplishment and goal accomplishment. So it is incredibly beneficial. It's a confidence booster to start your day with something that is challenging, something you don't want to do, and something you go through with anyways. Studies show that you're more likely to do more tasks like that later in the day that you otherwise may have put off. increases your energy, increases your confidence. It is absolutely a psychological exercise in doing something that you don't want to do because you know, A, it's good for you, but more importantly, B, because you should, because you're the master, because you own this universe, because you just got to do it. And once you do it, it is a complete mind state shifter. It is a game changer. So really, the fact that you're so repelled by it, if you can break through that, you're going to see more benefits than anyone. I'm serious. That is the biggest benefit that I've seen. All of this inflammation reduction aside, all of these heat shocks and cold shock proteins aside, just by getting in a cold shower because you don't want to in the morning, you will absolutely change your life.
Damn you, Jordan River. Damn you.
It's true. But
I'm convinced.
There's also other ways you can do it. If you live somewhere cold, I love to step out when it's snowy. I love to step out in my backyard in my underwear. For some reason, it's easier to me than a cold shower. And you still get the cold benefits and you still get the psychological benefits. And your neighbors think you're insane. But if there's an easier way for you to do it, any way you can incorporate hot and cold. Now, I say cold showers because not everybody has a sauna in their house, right?
Right.
Ideally, you're going from one to the other. But that's really an easy shift to make. Crank that knob, make that cold shower a routine.
Yeah, they do that in Japan. We've been there a few times. It's been a few years. But one of the last times we went, our host took us to an onsen, which is, like a really nice Japanese spa up in the mountains. And that's one of the things that they do religiously up there is they go back and forth. You spend
from
like
snow to the hot tub.
Yeah. So they go from the snow, or they have the hot tubs that are literally outside while you're being snowed on and you're in the hot tubs. And then you go inside and you go right into something cold. They have the cold water plunges that you can dip into, or you take like these little buckets and you turn them upside down and you sit on them, and then you take another one and then you go by like a big faucet type of thing, and then you fill it with cold water and you pour that over you, and you just go back and forth. And obviously they've known for centuries about the wonderful health benefits of that, because it's just kind of like an ancient tradition that they do there. And I just remembered that with you saying that. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And the Scandinavians do the exact same thing. I want to say I did an interview with someone a long time ago saying that these studies were showing specific efficacious results among the Scandinavians because they were accompanying it with the snow baths. I don't know if I'm exactly getting that right, but that speaks exactly to your point. And you're right. These are ancient practices. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, modern science, when we first start discovering applications in medicine and things like this, we discount the ancient wisdom. But really, when you look into it, there's real hard science behind things like meditation, things like hot and cold therapy, gratitude practices. Like there's actually real hard science behind this stuff. So I think it's important not to lose sight of that.
Yeah, and there's got to be, when they stand the test of time like that over hundreds, even thousands of years, it's not because it's not working. Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Japan have the oldest overall population?
Yeah, Okinawa. That's right. Okinawa has some of the, so maybe they know what they're doing.
I think so. I'm going to go with that. And I'm sufficiently challenged and convinced, Jordan, you've done it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
So. I have one last tomorrow. I have one last piece of advice. Definitely start slow. Start with just ending your showers cool. Extend that period. See if you can jump into cold. That's really what you're looking to do. But my last piece of advice is have an accountability group. Find someone else who's interested in taking cold showers and cold dips. Text them and say, did you do yours today? Oh, I could only do mine for 30 seconds. That's okay. It's better than nothing. Get in that accountability group. That really, really helps me with my cold training.
That's a good idea. All right. I've made myself a note. I'm doing it. And actually, I love everything you said, because it isn't just about the physical health benefits. It's actually so much more. So talking about, just what you talked about with being adaptable and being able to be okay.
Yeah, put you in the mind state. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I like it.
And really, we need that more than anything right now in this COVID quarantine. It's showing who has mental resilience.
Yes.
It's showing who has substantial character. And something as simple as and silly as a cold shower, you really might not think that it would make you that much more tough or resilient, but give it a try. You might be surprised. It really, really does something to you.
I can see that. I'm all about it now. You've pulled me over the line. I'm doing it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the second shift?
Definitely. We're ready.
Okay. So this is a big one, Loree. This is the biggest one. I'm just going to say it because I think it's the most overlooked aspect of our health, and that's sleep. Really, I think that the importance of sleep is getting out in the mainstream a little bit, but we still abuse it. We still don't give it the incredible credence that it deserves. So let me just try to quickly go through why it's so critical to our health. Obviously from our physical bodies, especially during deep sleep, early stages of sleep, muscle regeneration. This is the time that we naturally reduce inflammation. Now, here's that word inflammation again, right? And I believe we talked about this on our coffee podcast.
Yes.
Really, after speaking with dozens of doctors, they're all on the same page to an extent that inflammation either contributes to or is the root cause of almost all chronic disease.
Yep.
Now, that is a substantial sentence. This is inflammatory diets, exercise, all of these things. Well, sleep is really when our body repairs and reduces that inflammation. So deep sleep disruption is going to result in aches and pains. It's going to result in fatigue, reduced immune system, sickness eventually.
Right.
So that's really why it's so key to have that deep sleep. And then for our minds, especially during REM sleep, the later, deeper stages of sleep, this is when our brain basically defragments. It's a hard drive that is basically organizing thoughts and memories and beliefs on a subconscious level. And disrupting that REM sleep, as I'm sure anyone knows who has gone a while with poor sleep, you get mental fog, you get fatigue, you get mood issues, anxiety, depression, irritability, paranoia. I mean, this is really, really serious stuff. And it's like, okay, well, how about, I get some bad sleep and I'll just make up for it on the weekend. Well, that's really not the case, they're finding out, Loree. What they're finding out is if you chronically abuse your sleep, you are increasing your long-term risk for diseases, real horrible diseases like Alzheimer's, like Parkinson's, like dementia. And this is something that they're just now discovering. So it's not just, hey, I'm going to make up for it on the weekend. This is the same thing as doing damage to your heart and having heart disease down the road. This is the same thing as drinking and having liver disease down the road. You need to treat your sleep like it is an absolutely critical part of your health and fitness.
Yeah. And that's so interesting because even now, like you referred to earlier, there's so much conflicting information out there still. You can still find where, yes, you need, your good solid 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. And then you, at the same time, can find really, if it's quality, you only need 4 to 5 hours. And so that's, I think, confusing for a lot of people. There's a lot of factors and variables.
Body.
Yeah. I mean, your age is
your own body.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone is built a little bit differently. Really, and this is something that any doctor will tell you. And the latest study wants to come out with a headline. But the fact is, some people can get by on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. It's just literally, it's from what I understand, my limited understanding, it's genetics. This was how they were built. The key is listening to your body and having wellness be the end goal. Wellness meaning you feel good, you don't have chronic disease, you're fit to a degree, you're strong to a degree. That is wellness, and that should be the end goal. So listen, I would love to break this down, my shifts in sleep thinking into 2 categories.
Let's do it.
Stressors to avoid and things to improve. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with stressors to avoid. I just nailed one, and really this is a whole group that I'm going to call psychoactives, really. Alcohol, cannabis, caffeine, especially late in the day. These things are not good for your sleep. Alcohol completely ruins your sleep. It's really, really, really bad for your sleep to drink before going to bed. Your body basically needs to detoxify the poison that is that alcohol before it can begin going into these rhythms of deep sleep and REM and back again. So really, alcohol you should avoid for hours before going to bed. Cannabis is an interesting one. And I'm getting into some touchy territory here, but I've actually done a lot of podcasts on the subject, and I can speak on this a little bit. Cannabis is good for deep sleep. People with insomnia say, hey, I try cannabis. It helps me get to sleep. That's because it's good for deep sleep. It's good for falling asleep. But fact, THC disrupts your REM sleep. So using cannabis for your deep sleep may not be the worst idea. But if you're smoking every night before bed, thinking you're doing yourself a favor, you're actually disrupting your REM sleep, and you may want to give it a break or at least give it a couple hours before going to bed. Again, let your body process through that recreational drug use, and then you can actually get some sleep. I mean, hey, listen, we all have our vices, right? But you've got to keep them in check. You can't let these vices ruin your sleep. I love coffee, but I got to cut it off maybe 3 p.m. I wish I could drink coffee later. And I do drink decaf, but caffeine will keep you up. You're going to have a hard time getting to sleep, and then you're going to get less sleep. It's just going to be no good. So unfortunately, cut out that coffee. And again, people are different. Find your time. Stick to it with discipline. That's my first set of stressors.
No, those are... It totally. I mean, I can relate to. I'm not a cannabis person, so I can't relate to that one. I know people that are,
more
and
prevalent, I think, as states are coming online, it's like we really gotta figure this out as well. And honestly, alcohol is.
But that one,
If you've got issues, that's really the one that can do the worst. And caffeine too late as well.
Yeah, both of those. Like if I know if I decide I want to have like a glass, one glass of wine or one cocktail at night, like while I'm winding down before bed, I rarely do it anymore because I know that even one is going to disrupt my sleep. I never get the same quality of sleep with even one. And I've been able to verify that with this awesome sleep app. I started using it a few months ago, and it is just spot on. It's really interesting.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, tracking your sleep is a great way to learn more about your sleep. Absolutely, and I'm the same way. I'll end up snoring. I almost never drink alcohol. I mean, honestly, just a couple times in the past few years. But when I do, I'll end up snoring at night. It completely ruins my sleep. And you know what? I don't want to scare people out here, but I had Dr. Stephen Hellshine on. He does a lot in the world of sleep, and he said that snoring is basically a death sentence. And he said that sleep apnea is basically the hidden killer. And I'm going to try to summarize what he said really quickly to help my listeners understand.
Yeah.
Sleep apnea is stemming from what he calls our diabesity problem in the United States. Diabetes and obesity running rampant. It turns out when your throat gets to a certain girth, it chokes off your airway, causes you to snore, causes you to have fits and starts throughout the night. That's sleep apnea. Yeah. And again, this is doing irreparable damage throughout the night. He said that snoring specifically, the vibrations damage the lining of your heart. So you're doing damage to your heart by snoring all night. Now, it scared the crap out of me. He had to calm me down a little bit. Because I'm known to snore occasionally myself, and my wife will be snoring, and I'll wake her up. So it's like, I'm sure he was playing it up a little bit, but it was interesting the way he was saying it's not just the obesity, it's not just the sleep apnea. The act of snoring all night is really, really bad for you. So you got to lose that weight. Get that weight down if that is an issue for you.
Yeah, because the weight is oftentimes the cause of that. But I think too with alcohol, it's almost like if you drink, especially if it's a little bit excessive, it makes the passages swell. So your nasal passages, all of those passages that your breath has to come through, they swell up. Right. So it's got to be really detrimental to health. Totally. And coffee, like you, I'm the same way. I have to cut my coffee off at I'm pushing it if I'm still sipping coffee at 1:00. If I'm drinking coffee after 1 p.m, it definitely totally jacks up my sleep. It's got a time delayed effect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you may be a slow processor. Check out the Coffee Health and Science podcast. There's a great episode on caffeine processing. But I'll tell you the worst one for me, Loree, is screen time. I'm really a screen addict, and looking at this blue light from your screen late into the night, it tricks your body into thinking that the sun is still up. It disrupts your circadian rhythms. It completely throws you off. and it's no good for your sleep. I love online poker, as you know.
Yeah.
So when I'm up all night, I'm thinking in the back of my head, you know, you're not going to sleep well tonight. And really that is the case. You need to put down the screens, avoid them as much as you can. If you have to wake up to an alarm, try a manual egg timer, things like that, or even a digital clock. Anything's better than popping on that iPhone and getting that blue light and that stimulation. Are you a late night screen watcher like me?
I am not. That's one thing that's easy for me. I shut my computer down for the most part. Rare occasion, unless there's something that is like, oh my gosh, I've got a deadline, I've got to get this done, whatever. But that is so rare. I usually am done on my computer by dinner time, and I don't look at it again until the next day, late morning even. Yeah. So my book, my sleep bookends, as I call them. Right before I go to sleep, the last thing I'm looking at is a book I read. And then usually that's when I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is read a few pages out of a book before I jump into my day. So I don't have the screen, the blue light screen issue for me. That's an easy one. Thank God.
So obviously cutting it out is good. You can also get light correcting glasses, and there are even light correcting apps that I recommend people do. But I love what you said about the books. My next point written down here is people really need to treat their late night mind like a temple. You really don't want any stimulating content. Even if you are reading a book or, you know, avoiding the screens, don't go for a horror book.
No.
Don't go for, you know, even the thrillers. Really, really let the end of the day reflect nature, you know, things coming to an end, you know, calmness, tranquility, quiet. That's really what it should be about. Don't listen to a, you know, real crime murder podcast right before bed. I really recommend that you treat your mind with care in those late hours. So I like your bookends.
Yeah, no. And it's always, I got to end the day and start the day with, for me, it's some sort of spiritual reading. And that puts my brain and my mind and, you know, just my whole being in the right place for falling asleep and then waking up and starting the day. So that's my jam. But a lot of people fall asleep. They can't fall asleep without a TV on. And I think that is just, you know, it's the same thing. You've got the light, you've got the sound, you know, whatever the noise and stuff is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that used to be me. And really, you need to have the discipline to cut that out. I'm here to tell you, I've spoken with many, many doctors. It's not good for your health. Treat your sleep like it is precious, because it absolutely is. So we've talked about the things to avoid. Let's move on to things to improve. I'm just going to run through a couple really tactile, you know, just simple things to do. Blackout curtains, controlling light, sleep masks. This is very important. People think that, oh, you know, I'll just sleep while the sun is beating on my eyelids. You will improve your sleep quality, and you will sleep to your fullest when you can black out that sun and really let your body rest to its fullest potential as long as possible. Because we usually don't go to bed at sundown. It's interesting, Loree. People used to sleep differently. Anyone can Google. Anyone can Google how people used to sleep. The old circadian rhythm. People would wake up in the middle of the night and have their second meat or whatever it was called, and like a dinner. And like socialize at like 1 a.m. and then go back to bed. Like the way we sleep is not really the way we've been doing it for a long time, surprisingly. So you want to maximize what you can, black out, sleep as hard as you can for as long as you can, get on a rhythm. Really routine is key. Going to sleep and waking up at the same time will change your sleep quality for the better drastically. Lower the temperature in your bedroom. Some doctors recommend as cold as 62 to 68 degrees. Are you sleeping in 62 degrees, Loree?
Not on purpose. No, my 66 is good. Yeah, 66 is good. I like it nice and cool. Like 66 is good for me as long as I have the right kind of covers. I got to be warm in my bed. I can't be cold, but the room can be cold as long as I'm, you know, toasty warm under my covers, but not too hot.
So your body naturally drops its temperature. And again, that helps a lot with the inflammation reduction process. If you are in a room that is too hot, your body just won't drop as low as it should, as fast as it should, and you're not going to get the same recovery. So again, chill out that room. Any way you can make your sleep uninterrupted, for instance, a box fan or a noise maker, those are always good. Uninterrupted sleep, very important. And then swinging back to what you said, gratitude ritual before bed. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, it'll absolutely change your life. Meditation before bed, breathing exercise before bed, a couple of yoga poses. I mean, I just go through a couple that if you start doing that 3, 7, 10 days into doing that every day, you're going to notice a major difference in your, let's just say everything. You're going to notice it in your mood. You're going to notice it in improvement of sleep and energy and relationships and all over. Really, that's what it's about, Loree. Integrating, right? Integrating your health and fitness and your spirituality and all of these things and synergizing everything. And really, sleep is a huge, huge part of that. So that's all I have to say on sleep. And finally, I'll say you can look into supplements. Again, this is more going by how your body feels, talking to your doctor. Things like magnesium, melatonin has good and bad reviews. I'd research that. CBD, very promising. So I would say do more research, but you can supplement your sleep naturally as well.
Right. So I agree. I like that.
I recommend you shift your sleep. And listen, I didn't say more sleep. Ideally, you get enough sleep. You get as much sleep as you can. But these are simple shifts. Clean up your sleep hygiene. Get rid of the bad stuff. Boost your sleep however you can. And make the most of it. It will change your life.
Yeah, I think so too. It's so important. And you know what? You know it's good. You know it's quality if you wake up and rather than wishing you could stay in bed longer, you're like, I can't wait to get up. You're ready for the day. You're ready to start. When you have that mindset and that attitude where you're like, oh, I'm so excited to get up and start my day, you've probably had a good quality sleep. If you're like still wanting to just pull the covers over your head, you may have had a crappy night's sleep. You may have some other things going on in your life that you just don't want to face the day. But I think, when it comes to just how rested you feel, like if you feel like, no, I need more sleep, then you probably need more sleep and you need to make some changes.
It's tough, Loree, because I was like that every single day. There might be some people listening who know this feeling where you wake up every day and you're dragging ass. And you get through the days, but literally it's like you feel like you're in a zombie body. You feel heavy and drained and tired and dull and fatigued and kind of stupid. And I'm here to tell you, you get back what you put in. And if you make a commitment to change that, you can. You just have to do the research. You just have to put forth the effort. Put that work into your sleep. It's not normal to walk around like that. No. And you can fix it if you take responsibility and you take action for it. So that's what I'm here to say.
Yep, I concur, Jordan. All day.
So there's my riff on sleep. And again, do your best. Loree, I was up last night late playing poker, and I got to get back on it tonight because we're all human, right? But you do your best where you can. And there's my riff on sleep and why it's so important.
I like it. Well, you know what? Before we move on, one quick question about that. I was watching something or reading something, I can't remember which, recently, and was talking about chronotypes, like different types of people that are like early birds and some people are night owls. There's just certain.
Yeah. That was pioneered by Dr. Bruce, wasn't it?
Yes. That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
So I'm glad you bring this up. I would say I recommend, obviously, subscribe to the Coffee, Health, and Science podcast. We have an episode on sleep by Dr. Stephen Hellshine. It's a great resource. Another great resource for sleep is, I believe his first name is Michael. Dr. Michael Bruce. I'm just going to say Dr. Bruce, and it's a weird spelling. It's like Breuss, Dr. Bruce.
Yes,
He's wonderful, isn't he? He's really great.
I love him. Totally.
Yeah,
and it
exactly
is, I remember. Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I remember, I think you got the spelling right because I remember thinking it was like Dr. Seuss, only it's Dr. Bruce. I think that's.
Exactly. So he made the different kind of personnel classifications of sleep types, and there's like the dolphin who's like up and down, and there's the night owl, and there's the wolf. I think I was the wolf, which is like all over the place, basically.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm like the one. There was right. Yeah. I think the one in the middle, not an early bird, but not a night owl, was like a hummingbird. And I was like, that's me right there. That's me. Totally. Nice. The hummingbird. Anyway, they're kind of fun, listeners. If you get a chance to look into that, do check it out.
Yeah,
so,
Dr.
and
Bruce
then,
is great. He's fantastic in the field of sport.
Yep. All right. So coffee. We want to move on to coffee?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Gave away the last one. Here we go. The final shift. This is an easy shift. It requires nothing except for drinking better, more delicious coffee. So you've heard of my interest in coffee. Okay, I'll call it an obsession. You've heard of my obsession with coffee.
Yeah.
I've been on this show before. I am in the coffee industry. I have a podcast all about it. Can't get enough coffee. But there's a disclaimer here. What we're talking about now, and generally what we're talking about on my show, unless we speak otherwise, we're talking about high-quality coffee. We're talking about coffee as a medicinal, herbal beverage medicine, basically. This is organic coffee. This is not instant, Robusta, pesticide-filled, pre-ground, bullcrap store-bought coffee, okay? We're talking about the medicinal brew that is high-quality organic coffee. And that is truly a natural superfood. Organic coffee is loaded with antioxidants, far more than anything else in the Western diet. Mm-hmm. And a ton of other healthy compounds that we really don't even know why they're so beneficial. Things like, plant lipids and different alcohols, different acids, malic acid, citric acid, melanoidins, hundreds and hundreds of compounds that are created, altered, and destroyed depending on how you grow, roast, and process coffee. It is infinitely complex. It is infinitely interesting. But what we do know is that medium roast organic coffee is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Its disease prevention properties are unrivaled. There's really nothing like it out there. There are multitudes of studies, decades and decades worth, showing that it prevents many different types of cancers and really many different, wildly different diseases. Can I share a couple quick numbers with you and your audience right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that, generally speaking, especially in America, we're predominantly coffee drinkers to the best of my knowledge. They're tea drinkers too. But I think since, most people drink coffee, if not on a regular basis, semi-regularly. So I think sharing a few quick numbers is always helpful.
It's the Americans are big-time coffee drinkers. Now, tea has its own place. There's actually some really great medicinal compounds in tea as well, but tea doesn't have close to the wide variety of disease prevention that coffee does. So I'm going to share with you some studies, and these are real. I mean, these are real. They're not even studies. They're meta-studies. They're compiled studies upon studies, studying people who drink coffee versus those who don't, and the diseases they get. So right here, I'm reading back in the study in 2002, there's up to a 30% reduction of risk of Parkinson's, if you drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee a day. That's important if you have a family history of this. 30%, I mean, listen, I'm a poker guy. That's a big number right there.
Yeah.
24 to 40% decreased risk for type 2 diabetes. Again, the diabetes epidemic in our country. You can really fight it with coffee. There is a 30% decreased risk of congestive heart failure. It's good for your heart. 22 to 25% reduced risk of stroke. 15% reduced risk of prostate cancer. Here's a wild one. 65% reduction of Alzheimer's risk. So Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, they're all similar in that they form these things called plaques and tangles in the brain. And they think that coffee basically works against these plaques and tangles. 65% reduction. I mean, that beats some medical pharmaceuticals. If you have a family history of Alzheimer's, you need to switch to drinking high quality organic coffee, and you need to be drinking 3 to 5 cups a day for sure, for your health. And I've always said I work with Purity Coffee. They have the highest standards that I've ever seen. I would love for you to switch to Purity Coffee, promo code podcast for 10% off. But honestly, I just want you to switch to something organic that you will drink and something that makes you feel good. That's the key here. If you don't like Purity, fine. What you need to do is get off of the instant, get off of the Starbucks. Sorry, it's not good. Those pesticides are working against you. That non-organic stuff is not good. Get on the good stuff. And this is really important. Disease reduction. I mean, you don't want to be coming down with Alzheimer's because you didn't sleep right and you didn't drink high quality coffee or enough of it.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a massive improvement in liver health, a 40% decrease in risk of liver cancer. And quickly, I want to share a story that Dr. Sanjeev Chopra shared on my podcast. He was the dean of ongoing education at Harvard Medical. So he would teach the Harvard doctors who were coming through, how to be a doctor, I guess.
Yeah.
He would take them on his rounds. He would show off his knowledge, and basically teach them how to operate. So one of the things he would do was he noticed that he was working he's a liver specialist, right? He was working in the field of liver disease. And you'd get all of these heavy drinkers that would come in and they would drink and drink and drink and they would get liver disease. But interestingly enough, none of them were coffee drinkers. And he would always have his students note if someone came in with liver disease, which was a heavy coffee drinker, and it virtually never happened. So he said, listen, don't take this as an excuse to just drink as much as you can, because alcohol is bad for a lot of parts of your body. It's bad for your brain. It's bad for your heart. But those who drink heavy coffee along with their alcohol basically protected their liver against the toxic damage that they were putting against it.
Interesting.
It was mind-blowing. It's literally a liver and blood protectant.
Wow.
It is wild. And again, this is coming from a Harvard doctor. Saying this. So it's very, very real. There's been some damage done to coffee's reputation, but we need to take this seriously because it can reduce all sorts of diseases. Plus, it's enjoyable, and it has all those other wonderful benefits of making you more productive, increasing reaction time, cognitive function. It's great pre and post workout. It is truly a superfood. It's the superfood that we've been looking for. All those Dr. Oz commercials. What he's really been looking for is coffee. Real, healthy, organic coffee, 3 to 5 cups a day.
The right kind. Yeah, I'm all about it too. We had a whole podcast, you and I, about this a couple months back, because I agree. It's so important. And listeners really get this. It's not just coffee. It's the right kind of coffee. It has to be the best quality organic coffee that you can possibly manage to keep in your cupboards. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm a fan of Purity too. I order it by those big, what are they, 5-pound bags?
You run the 5 pounds? Yeah. A bunch of people are buying those up.
Yeah, we have.
Purity is incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I can actually get into why. I'll keep it brief for this, but there's really different levels to how you produce anything, really, but especially when it comes to big ag and food products. So if you're organic certified coffee, I know it's different for other foods. If you're organic certified coffee, you're not using harmful pesticides and you're not using synthetic fertilizers. That's generally what it means. And then there's also storage practices and things like that. What's really interesting is when you get into regeneratively farmed. And I really hope to put in some work to bring some knowledge to regenerative farming and maybe a certification to regenerative farming. And what regenerative farming is you're tending to the microbial and fungal life in the soil. So it's very similar to organic in that you're not adding synthetic fertilizers, which knocks back that wonderful soil biology. And you're also not applying pesticides, which knocks back that biology. But you might not be doing things like composting, applying compost tea, bird-friendly practices to bring wildlife back, which carry seeds and bring the natural ecosystem. So basically there's these different levels all the way up to regenerative farming and permaculture. And I really want to be a force for letting people recognize these different levels and, being able to pay that extra price for something that's good for the planet, good for their body. What went into it. And I was just fortunate enough to be down on these farms, Loree, in Colombia, just a few short weeks ago. And it's incredible what they're doing with the regenerative farming. So again, Purity coffee, I stand by because no one does it like them, but find something you like, find something that makes you feel good and healthy. At minimum, it's gotta be organic.
Yeah, I agree. At minimum, it has to be. Okay. How about people that like, for example, chocolate-covered coffee beans? Can you get the same effects for people that can you just eat coffee beans? I mean, do you?
So I know there's some effect. I actually want to defer to a future episode. I'm actually working on a Purity Coffee steak rub right now. There's a lot of like DIY food stuff going on with the quarantine. So I whipped up some Purity Coffee steak rub. I'm going to perfect the recipe and release it to the social media followers. Anyways, I want to do a whole episode on eating coffee and the health differences. So I can't speak specifically on the differences, but I do know that there are some health properties, yes, to consuming coffee like that.
Okay, because and I'm just all right.
I want to
so
say
I
don't want to give you permission to just eat candy, but I want to say that dark chocolate has some good health properties too, right? Right. So if it's a good quality, exactly, a good quality dark chocolate, because that's where you're going to have more of the antioxidants. There are none left in milk chocolate. I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but no, the milk chocolate, there is not one health benefit in milk chocolate. So let's just, make sure everybody knows that. If you're going to have it, just enjoy it for what it is, but you're not getting any like health benefits out of it, whatever. But a good quality dark chocolate, the darker the better, mixed with maybe a good coffee bean. That might be like a kind of a nifty snack. So you're gonna have to keep me posted on that. What you've got coming up. You're speaking my language too. Yeah. I've been eating coffee on my steaks, and let me tell you, it's been wonderful.
Oh, that is intriguing. All right, I'm definitely gonna have to circle back around about that one. So very cool.
Coffee rub all day.
Okay, so let's touch on. Yeah, you want to touch on one more final tip on coffee? Do you remember what it's supposed to be?
Caffeine?
I'll give. Well, we talked about the caffeine though, right? Benefits and minor detriments. Okay. Is there?
Yeah. We talked about the disruption in sleep, and I also just quickly wanted to touch on the health differences. You interestingly enough lose some health benefits in decaf coffee.
Okay.
So here's an interesting thing, Loree. This is really fascinating. If you drink Monster Energy drink or you take no-dose pills, you get zero health benefits as far as disease prevention.
Yeah.
Go figure. Who would have thought? No-dose doesn't prevent dementia. If you drink coffee with all of its wonderful phenols and CGAs and you remove the caffeine, you get very, very little protection from dementia. But if you leave the caffeine in coffee, there's some sort of synergy that takes place between the hundreds of compounds I mentioned earlier and caffeine, which results in this massive, 65% reduction in brain disease, 65% reduction in Alzheimer's, and 30% in Parkinson's. So there's something going on that we really don't understand, and you're not going to get it from drinking Monster Energy drink, and you're also not going to get it from decaf. So you got to drink that caffeinated, far enough away from your bedtime. But there's something really, really magical about caffeine being very, very good for you in the context of coffee.
Okay. I like it. Okay. So here's the final tip.
What tip were you referring to? Yeah. What did I miss?
Nappuccino.
Oh, of course. Yes. The Nappuccino. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is a good one.
Okay.
And then this is a tough one for some people to master. So if you ruin a nap, you might take you a second to get the hang of it. Don't hate on me for it. Here's what a Nappuccino is. Basically, if you're the type of person who likes to take a 15 or 20-minute nap, you can time caffeine consumption to where you drink your cappuccino right before you go to sleep, like moments before going to sleep. Lay down, see if you can get into a sleep state. 15 or 20 minutes later, the caffeine really starts coming on as you're waking up, and you wake up into a caffeinated state. It is wonderful if you time it right. It is basically the best nap that you'll ever have, and you come out of it like a rocket. Super, super good tip for productivity. And again, if you can get on a schedule, especially, and you're that type of person who can do 20-minute naps, not like a 3-hour napper, this is for you. The Nappuccino. You can Google it. I didn't come up with it. It's it's like a social media phenomenon. But my gosh, when you time it right, I can attest to it. It is wonderful to wake up in a caffeinated state. The Nappuccino.
Yeah, so it's all in the timing. I mean, I'm not a napper, so I can't sleep in the middle of the day. I'm just not a napper. I never have been. But there a lot of people are. So this is a great suggestion, but it's really critically important that they time it just right. Is that right? They got to have it and then right before they lay down.
Lay down.
Okay.
Right, exactly. Because if it starts kicking in, then you're not going to get into your sleep state. And it's still good to have that rest, but really time it right to where you're falling asleep before the caffeine is kicked in and wake up in that caffeinated state. It's, hey, what better time to try it than the COVID quarantine, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And I guess, don't you think it's interesting though, Loree, that everyone is examining their habits right now? Like all of these social media posts are, don't do this, limit your exposure to frightening news. Do this, get the exercise going at home, get your home gym going. Everyone's really, because they can so closely examine what they're doing throughout the day, they are reconsidering their habits and behaviors more than ever in my lifetime, I feel.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've said a few times that this whole situation has created an opportunity for a massive reset, personally, for people personally, professionally, just across the globe. So it is interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see once things kind of return to, I hate to use the word normal, but once they go back to, no restrictions, let's just say that. It's going to be interesting to see how people's lifestyles have maybe changed for the better because of this forced this forced slowdown and stop almost. Yeah, really interesting.
Definitely. Well, use it for a time to get sleep, folks. That's what I recommend. Sleep in and have some coffee, some healthy coffee when you wake up. With a cold shower.
Yeah, get your cold shower, get your coffee, get your cold shower. You can start with it warm, right? And then move into cool and cold. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to increase it a little each day.
Good luck, Loree. I'll be texting you. I'll ask you if you took your cold shower.
Do it. Yeah, you could be my accountability partner. Just, please check in on me.
Awesome. Well, that wraps it then,
Perfect.
Loree. Coffee, Health, and Science podcast, obviously. Everyone go subscribe. Great stuff over there. Dr. Sanjeev from Harvard Medical has a great episode on handling this coronavirus quarantine. Go check it out, everyone.
Perfect. Excellent info and suggestions as always. Jordan, thank you again. And I know we'll be talking again soon. Thank you.
I would love to. Thank you so much, Loree.
Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me and Jordan today. In case you missed it, also, Jordan was here a couple months back. He shared some of the miraculous health benefits of coffee, even more than what you just heard now. We spent a whole hour just talking about coffee, and it's fascinating. So if you missed it, check out episode 69. He was here a couple weeks ago, too, talking about Life Book. Oh, yeah, Life Book. It's so good. So episode 74 and 75, if you missed those, go back and check those out as well. That's about it today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And please take a quick minute to rate this episode if you found it valuable. I would be very appreciative. Make sure to spread this good shift around by sharing it with your friends. And until next week, stay feisty, my friends. Stay healthy. Stay caffeinated. Go make some epic shift happen in your life. That goes for you too, Gary V.
The preceding podcast was a TJ DeSantis production. Comments, questions, and inquiries can be directed to DeSantisProd@gmail.com.